In a world where all health professions are moving to a doctorate, occupational therapy is staying the same. Dun dun dun! Sounds scary, right?
Well, don't worry. There's a way to avoid this scary thought. Occupational therapy, moving to the doctorate, will help us implement evidence-based practice, increase our competency, and give us credibility to influence the health policy discussion with payers and legislators.
The best part of OTD is better therapy.
No healthcare professions exist in a vacuum. According to Brown, Crabtree, Mew, and Wells, other professions have moved to the doctoral level in recent years. So why can't we? They require a clinical doctorate to even begin practicing. Each profession has an effect on other professions, and the healthcare system itself is competitive. If we want to maintain or improve our status within the field, we need to move in this direction.
These professions include osteopathy, clinical psychology, chiropractic, optometry, podiatry, pharmacy, physical therapy, audiology, and advanced nursing practice.
So I know what you're thinking. What about speech-language pathology? And funny you should ask. While it may not be a requirement, there's already been a discussion within the field for many years on how and why their field is heading in this direction. Ray Kent explains this during his presentation on clinical doctorates in speech-language pathology, when he states that they have the same reasons that we do: continuously expanding scope of practice, increasing professional demands, and the need for increased credibility within the healthcare field.
Speaking of credibility, moving to a doctorate will not only increase our credibility within the healthcare field, but also with both insurance companies and legislature. Insurance companies' reimbursement is likely to improve for services provided by someone who holds a clinical doctorate. The same would be true for private insurance companies. It was even stated that, "We predict that within less than a generation, the majority of healthcare practitioners in allied health and advanced practice nurses will be degreed at the level of the clinical doctorate. It is likely that reimbursement will require services provided by a signature authority of someone educated at that level."
We've already made the point that the healthcare field is changing, and with that comes new legislation. Getting your doctorate will increase your voice among healthcare professionals. For example, OT was initially left out of an important national initiative to develop an assessment on interprofessional behavior because we aren't a doctoral profession. This can be avoided in the future by our field moving towards the doctorate.
Another point to go along with credibility: if you want to go into research, certain funding is only given to those who are doctorally trained, so having your doctorate will give you a competitive edge.
OT's scope of practice has grown, just as we have as a profession, not only in our clientele, but the evidence behind our treatments. Moving towards requiring an entry-level doctorate will not only increase the competence of our practice, but will also increase the ability of those receiving the education. Brown, Crabtree, Mew, and Wells explain how we will be able to implement more evidence-based practice, clinical reasoning, problem-solving, interprofessional skills, and leadership abilities. It is believed that occupational therapy graduates with this set of professional skills can be achieved only at the OTD level.
Many argue that it would be hard to handle this transition. However, programs will have 10 years to transition from being a master's level to a doctoral level, so there's more than enough time for them to figure out how to get there. There are policies and procedures posted online already at acotonline.org. Not only this, but programs could look to online doctoral programs already in existence for a basis on where they need to go in the future. Even more resources will be available as ACOT plans to work with AOTA to release webinars and resource documents to assist programs with their transition.
According to the articles, the Professional Occupational Therapy Doctorate degree, Why Do It? In the next paradigm shift in occupational therapy education, the move to entry-level clinical doctorate, stated, by requiring further education in all entry-level OTs, clinicians entering the field will have more experience and therefore will be able to provide more beneficial interventions. So, more intensive schooling required for the OTD degree would mean more overall knowledge and therefore a deeper understanding of a wider range of diagnoses. This would inherently lead to clients and families receiving better care due to the advanced skill set obtained.
As a board, we need to take the long view to ensure that occupational therapy remains competitive and relevant. The changing healthcare system is requiring more dependence on research and evidence, and many similar professions are going to an entry-level doctorate. We want to begin a profession-wide dialogue on how to ensure that the profession remains not just relevant but in demand, despite changes and uncertainty. The AOTA President.
So this increased dependence on evidence-based research within OT can easily be addressed by the requirements of an OTD. Through the doctoral program, students will gain more exposure to research, which will in turn allow for better clinical reasoning based on the evidence found in said research.
Both within our evidence-based practice and our program requirements, if the system itself is changing, we need to adapt to stay appropriate to the current time.
Well, if you don't believe us, let's hear from some OTs who have their doctorate.
So some of the reasons that make sense to me and why the OTD should be mandated in the future is the changes in healthcare and how complex it is becoming, and the need for therapists that are coming out of school that are not just clinicians, but that are able to understand policy and legislation and be leaders in program development and making changes in the future for healthcare, because healthcare is always changing so much. And also to be able to further implement evidence-based practice.
I wish that the doctorate was still a choice. I believe strongly in the concept of more clinical practice and experience. I think the evidence-based piece of the doctorate program is awesome.
I think most programs are moving that way anyway, and to have us have our grads with a master's and other people with doctorates, you may not make more money, but I think if they have a choice between the two, I think they would choose somebody with a doctorate. I also think a lot of the things that we have required already in our program, like the level of research that you do, are already pretty comparable to the doctorate level. I think the capstone experiences that are required over there are really going to pull together a lot of skills that you learn about in a classroom, but you're going to really apply, and I think it'll make you great OTs, even greater OTs.
So do you want to be more qualified in your field? Do you want to provide better therapy? If so, come get your OTD today.
The best part of OTD is better therapy.